Smelled like failure, that's what she said. You smell like failure. This neighborhood doesn't do charity cases. That was the first thing Marina Ashford Kessler ever said to me. She stood tall on the rotting porch of my uncle's old cabin, powder blue designer suit, practically glowing against a backdrop of deep Ohio pine. Her manicure drummed on a clipboard as thick as a brick, and she looked me up and down like she was calculating exactly how much it had cost to have me removed. 30 days. Tear this eyesore down, or we'll demolish it ourselves and bill your corpse. Her perfume was so aggressive it beat back the clean forest air. Pearls flashed in the sun, her hair a blonde helmet, stiff and perfect, probably cost more to maintain than my yearly food budget. That's how we met. And spoiler alert, it was also the last time she ever got to look down on me, because that day, while she threatened me on land she was convinced belonged to her precious HOA, I was holding a document dated 1869. Federal stamp, all the bells and whistles, proof that every mansion, park, and pool in Thornwood Estates, including her own $4 million monument to herself, sat illegally on Sheridan land. She'd just threatened the wrong guy. But let's rewind 3 weeks. I'm sitting in a divorce attorney's office, air heavy with leather and regret, signing away 15 years of marriage with a pen that feels like a guillotine. Patricia the lawyer has that expensive, tired look. 15 years combing federal land records, she mused, and you didn't see this coming. There's a cruel irony in being able to spot fraud on paper but missing it in your own home. My ex took the house. I got the debt. She called that a fair trade. I joked that I should have checked my own marriage certificate a little closer. 47 years old. My life now boiled down to a pickup with a faded Federal Land Records Office sticker, a box of textbooks, a cracked magnifying glass, and an electrical toolkit for side jobs. The pension barely paid for a one-bedroom rental. You'll figure something out, Patricia said. That's what everyone always says. The day I signed the papers, my phone buzzed, unknown number, Madison County. The voice on the line told me my uncle Tobias Sheridan, a name I barely remembered from family arguments, had died. Turns out I was his only living relative, and he'd left me a cabin plus some land. I'll be there tomorrow, I said before I could talk myself out of it. The drive took me off the grid, hand-drawn map. No cell service following landmarks that felt like treasure hunt clues, split oak stone markers shaped like a finger. By the time the forest swallowed my truck, I could feel the city leaving my bones. When I finally arrived, the cabin looked like it had lost a bet, with a tornado sagging roof, taped up windows, porch boards that groaned underfoot, but the bones were good. Solid oak fieldstone foundation, the kind of build that outlasts generations. Inside it smelled of pipe tobacco and stories gone stale. Sunlight knifed through a gap in the boards, illuminating a letter on the table, my name. Old, trembling handwriting. Colt, they called me crazy for 40 years. Check the trunk under the floorboards. Don't let them steal what's ours. My hands shook as I hunted for the loose board. Found the trunk and opened it with the keys the estate lawyer had sent. Inside, a trove of survey maps, railroad land grants, tax receipts, each stamped Sheridan, and at the bottom a folder labeled Ashford Conspiracy, 1987 to 2024. The more I read, the sicker I felt. Survey lines cut straight through what's now Thornwood Estates. Hundreds of homes, parks, a golf course, all on our land. My family paid taxes for over a century. Then the receipts just stopped in 1987. Same year Thornwood Development popped up, founded by, you guessed it, Marlena Ashford. Marina's maiden name, the woman now running the HOA. My uncle had sent hundreds of letters, county, state, federal, all ignored. 3 days, fixing up the place, patching leaks, getting a makeshift solar setup going. On day 4, I'm replacing porch boards when the white Tesla shows up, Marina herself stepping out like she owns the woods. You're trespassing on community-adjacent land. I tell her it's my uncle's, legally inherited. Her smile is ice. He was unstable. This cabin violates 14 codes. You've got 30 days. I just stare, and for a second her armor cracks. I've removed 23 problem properties. You're number 24. She walks off, heels ticking on the stone. The next day, a county inspector appears looking uncomfortable, muttering about complaints, handing me a $67,000 violation stack, visual blight in the middle of the woods. I ask who's complaining, and he just blushes and leaves. If you've ever seen someone who's trapped, you'd recognize that look. I start fighting back the only way I know: paperwork. FOIA requests for every permit, inspection, variance, county, state, federal. Trail cams, too. In those responses, I find the real story: how, during the digital transition in 1987, original paper land records went missing. Suddenly, our land became public domain. But my uncle had kept the originals. The person in charge of the transition, Deacon Whitmore, still working at the county recorder's office. I find Deacon at closing time. The man looks like he's been haunted by ghosts for decades. Over coffee, he confesses, took a $50,000 bribe from Harold Kessler, Marina's father-in-law. The plan was simple: find absentee landowners, fudge the records, develop fast. 23 families I know of, he says, looking ready to cry. He gives me a key to a storage unit full of originals, deeds, surveys, tax receipts, and most damning memos signed by Marina herself, ordering titles flagged for deletion. Word spreads. Rowan Cafferty, an electrician, tracks me down. She and her whole crew got stiffed by a Kessler shell company, $380,000 in stolen wages, all legal on paper. Authorities won't help, she says. They own everyone. She connects me with others, workers, suppliers, inspectors, and a journalist, Stellan Ross, who's been hunting the Kesslers for years but never had the evidence. Now he does. The final piece comes from Judge Honora Vance, a retired federal judge, property law. She spends hours reviewing the files, then looks up fierce. Federal land grant trumps everything, she says. Prove fraud and all transactions become void. But I don't want innocent families thrown out. Then target the management company, she suggests. Turns out Sterling Property Management is just Marina's shell, siphoning millions from the HOA. Soon after, my trail cams are smashed, solar panels ripped out, and a condemnation notice is nailed to my door. They're scared. Judge Vance is calm. Scared people make mistakes. I file my formal challenge to the Federal Land Office, copies to the AG, FBI, newspapers. The HOA unleashes a smear campaign, newsletters. Call me dangerous, social media says I'm violent. Trucks block my drive. I document everything. At the next HOA meeting, the mood has changed. Willa Thornberry, 78, stands up. This was Sheridan land. His uncle begged us to listen. We ignored him. We were wrong. The silence breaks. That Monday, Stellan publishes the story. FBI, IRS, state AG swarm in. Marina vanishes, then shows up at my door begging, desperate, offering millions. The Kesslers will destroy me. She hands over everything: the server, the evidence, a confession. I tell her to cancel the condemnation order on my cabin. She does and disappears into the night. At the final township meeting, the place is packed: news crews, feds, neighbors. I present every document, every year of fraud, every stolen dollar. Judge Vance vouches for the authenticity. Marina snaps. Without me, you'd be living in trailer parks, she screams. You built this on stolen land, someone shouts back. FBI cuffs her on the spot. Soon after, Harold Kessler's arrested, assets frozen, RICO charges rain down. Restitution begins. Sheridan land rights restored. Thornwood homeowners can buy their land at fair prices, payments spread out, no mass evictions. I could have played hardball, but that's not what this was about. 6 months later, the community runs itself, open books, real elections. Rowan and her crew get their wages. Deacon finally retires free of guilt. Willa invites me to dinner, says my uncle would be proud. He just wanted the truth to be heard. I visit Tobias's grave place, the 1869 deed at the headstone. He saw what others refused to see. He spoke when others stayed silent. He was right. Marina gets 12 years. Her assets seized, family gone last. I heard she's trading light blue for prison orange. Karma, it turns out, doesn't cut deals. Now, when the sun sets behind the pines and I sit on my porch, renovated, paid off on land that's finally ours again, I remember sometimes it takes one stubborn person and a mountain of crazy paperwork to take down an empire built on lies. Some fights last decades. Sometimes justice is slow, but when it finally arrives, it doesn't apologize. So let me ask you, what would you have done? Is there ever a right way to fight back when the odds are stacked and the rules are rigged? If you've ever tangled with an HOA or seen power abused, share your story below. I want to hear it. And if this story spoke to you, hit like, subscribe, and pass it on. Sometimes the truth just needs a little help getting heard.